Darian.
Yeah.
How did working at Omnia shape your views on the nightlife industry?
I think I was one of the first to sell a $100,000 bottle of champagne. If I can be selling people that don't need not only champagne, but at this price point, sales is probably where I need to be.
Who are some celebrities that you waited on that were just phenomenal people?
Ronaldo, the soccer player, he was very, very nice, but it kind of took away from the person because security is so tight. Like, we weren't allowed to hand him the drink.
What is it about being in nightlife that really poured the foundation for your success in the mortgage industry?
The hustle. If I can sell these $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 bottles that people don't need, how can I sell something that people really do need? And that's where it's like, everyone needs a house.
Welcome to Fargo Talks.
Fargo Talks.
Fargo Talks.
This is Fargo Talks.
Just organically now, I've been getting amazing guests that have come in, and we're live, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And now it's like I leverage this as a funnel for my marketing company that I have. Because I show people, look if I can make this, like 2 million people plus people look at this every month, what can I do with you?
Right.
And they're like, oh shit. So that's just kind of how it's taken off.
Okay.
And at 53, I became a 1099 employee for the first time in my life.
And clearly it's doing all right, or you wouldn't have all the fancy things here.
Yeah.
It's like your face.
I know, which is crazy.
Looks really good.
My head. It's like, yeah, my kids have come in and they're like, Dad, it's you. I'm like, I know.
Famous.
I'm everywhere. my little friends, I know. So
I love that.
I had a friend of mine in Brandon Johnson, who is an agent here in town with HomeSmart Encore, but he's really known as an influencer, Brandon from Vegas.
Is he the food guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom, we were actually at Resorts World not too long ago, and she follows him, and she lives in Michigan. She goes, Darian, do you know who that is? I'm like, big guy eating a burger.
He's so awesome.
And she's like, no, he does like the TikTok influence stuff for food. And I was like, is that who you always pull up to see if where I'm taking you is like a good spot?
Yeah.
And come to find out he's an agent. She's like, you don't work with him? I was like, there's tons of agents, but
Like 16,000 agents.
yeah, I was like, there's a lot.
Sorry,
but,
Mom.
Yeah, so that was funny. But yeah,
Sorry,
know
Mom.
of him.
So him and I were talking, and I was like, I asked him, I said, if I was a in my 20s guy, single, and coming to Vegas for the first time, what club should I go to? And he said, Encore Beach Club, without a doubt. And I went, okay. And we talked more about the business aspect.
Yeah.
And he used to work at one of the clubs in town. He worked security, and if other people have come in and worked security, I've never had anybody come in that has done bottle service.
Yeah.
And so I put something out on the interwebs, and lo and behold, here we are. Because in a former life, that's what you did at a exceptionally high level.
Yeah.
Right? And so I love the fact of like the business aspect of things. Like I've had, and this is no comparison, but I had Alexis Fox as an adult film star, like 23 AVN awards. She's awesome. She has her own line of coffee.
Oh, wow.
She has beer. She sponsors a boxer out of Florida.
Huh.
So I really don't care about the porn industry and really didn't talk about that. We spent over an hour talking about her entrepreneurial endeavors that she's doing and what she's involved in.
Absolutely.
And a bunch of the stuff went viral, like because people wanted to know a different side of her.
Oh, that's the fun stuff.
Right?
That's the fun stuff, yeah.
A lot of people in town know who you are. You're a lender, and so for people, like if you're looking to get a mortgage, you go to Darian. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
However, just like real estate agents, you swing a dead cat in town, you know 2 or 3 other people that do the same thing you do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are right.
A lot of the programs you have, other lenders have it.
Yeah.
A lot of the incentives you have, because you're so heavily regulated.
It's
right?
My favorite line is, and you know this very well, I'm not here to bring you donuts and cookies to your office and say hi every month. I do things completely different, and that's what's worked for me. I mean, it's been 5 years now since I've been out of the industry, and at the end of the day, I mean, again, it's the same song and dance. They do the same calls. I think right now is when people are calling lenders, the agents. And hey, how are you? Love to take you to coffee. Nobody wants your coffee. They can buy their own coffee. What can you do that's going to help get them to the next level or help their business grow? Yeah. And if that's the conversation you're not having, then you're going to keep making your phone calls every year, and there's no changes that you're going to see.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
Nothing. You won't move the needle at all, my friend, right? And so, you reached out, awesome, and I said to you, the best way for you to market yourself, and it kills two birds with one stone. I'm looking for somebody that has extensive experience in the bottle service industry that isn't bound by a confidentiality agreement.
No.
And so,
open book now.
So you're like, hey man, I'm out. I'm an open book. I could talk about whatever you want, Jeff. And I said, awesome, because to me, the most sincere form of branding yourself now isn't on a TV show, isn't a billboard, isn't a commercial, isn't on the radio, isn't in print. It's going on podcasts as much as you can and talking about everything else except what you do for a living.
Especially it's hard for people to do.
Especially, and that's most people get on and becomes an elevator pitch about who they are. And then most people go, I'm out.
Yeah.
So instead, my suggestion was, and you thankfully agreed, was let's talk more about your former life, because a lot of that, I think, helped shape and form who you are now.
Oh, completely.
Right?
Yeah.
And because the thing is also, full disclosure, you're one of the top loan officers in town, which is awesome.
Thank you.
And the thing is also earned, not just because, full disclosure, all due respect, you're gorgeous, but it's more than that. You're welcome, but it's more than that.
Yeah.
Right?
Night and day. Yeah.
Right. And so I want to go into it, and I have questions because I prepared for this, is more about when you got into the business and really got things running and how that formed who you are now. So hold on.
Yeah.
So Omnia Nightclub is where you opened up.
Yep.
Right?
Opened Omnia.
What motivated you to take the leap to move to Vegas before even securing the job at Omnia?
Oh man. So I was actually going to school for nursing, and I was working at a bar, Fifth Avenue. That's probably the only happening spot in Michigan. And my manager was like, hey, have you ever thought about moving to Vegas and doing this at another level? And at that time I was like, oh yeah, I bartended for years, because in Michigan you can bartend when you're 18. So 20-year-old Darian working at a bar, hearing that this new club's opening up, these girls are making over $100,000 working 2 nights a week, my ears perked. I'm getting ready to go into an industry that you might make $60,000 your first year before taxes. And I knew the lifestyle that I wanted. I didn't, my parents, my dad was a Marine for 20 something years.
That's
my mom
awesome.
was a stay-at-home mom. So by no means did I grow up with generational wealth, or, my dad didn't graduate college. Right out of high school, he went into the Marines, and, he taught me the hustle side. So when I was following, hey, after high school, you go to college, you get your degree, you start your life. And I always knew that I wanted to take some kind of a break, whether it was modeling. At that time, I'd fly out to Miami and see what I can do there. But unfortunately, height always kind of hindered what I could do. And I knew I wasn't, as much as my name at the time, Darian Dallas, was, they joked, you're either going to be really famous or you're going to be a great porn star.
Solid.
And my
porn
joke
star
was always, I'm still trying to figure it out. So now it's just, I'm at a point where I'm like, do I continue, do I start clinicals and do the nursing thing? Or do I shoot my shot and hop on a $30 Spirit flight and come out to Vegas? So that's what I did. I did it twice. Spirit flight, stayed at the Hooters Hotel, and I did the auditions, and these girls were, wow. I had my shitty clip-in extensions, my awful spray tan I did in the bathroom at home, and I went in there and thought, hey, I'm just as bad as you guys. So I got hired at a few different clubs, Rehab and Dre's, and if not for nothing, I was like, hey, you know what? It's a starting point. I did not get a call back from Omnia at that time. And so I flew back to Michigan, kept doing my thing. And a part of me was like, should I just go out there and figure it out? I don't have kids. I've got 2 chihuahuas, and I can pack up my car and go. And that's what I did. So I packed up my little Cadillac and I drove across country, and I got here and I was at Manhattan Condos, my 1 bedroom, 1 bath with my dogs and a mattress on the floor. And I think I had maybe $1,200 in my account after all this. 21. I had turned, so this was January, February. I had just turned 21 in July, and I get a call from a junior host that just started at Omnia. And he said, hey, he's like, I know it's late and you just got in town, but there's 2 guys you need to meet, and they're going to be at this club tonight. Can you come? Well, when you go clubbing in Detroit, you wear Lulu leggings, sneakers, and a snapback and a crop top. Well, in Vegas, you don't wear that. You wear your red bottoms and you dress up. So, long story short, I definitely stood out, and in a good way on that note, because the people I was supposed to meet that night to help get me into Omnia happens to be my husband now. And I met my husband the second day I moved to Vegas, and the rest was history. So I got a call that next day, and it was a call back for Omnia. And I was like, oh my gosh, this blessing in disguise, right? And then long and behold, it was Chris that had got me that call, and they hired me on the spot.
What was the biggest challenge you faced with Omnia when you first got there and opening it up and getting it going?
Being the new girl, I mean, there was, I would say, maybe a handful of us that had never been in this industry or at this level. And especially coming from the Midwest, when you have girls that are born and raised here and kind of know the game. So finding friends, I wouldn't say was hard, but it was just the clickiness of it, of like really finding like, you know, where you're going to hang out at. But some of the girls that I've met, you know, that first year, they're still my friends. I mean, some of them were at my wedding. So the friendships that you built, they're strong. It's hard to break out of your shell in the beginning because it's cutthroat. Everyone wants your spot, and if you don't perform and if your KPIs aren't where they need to be, they'll find a way to get rid of you. And they did.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that. How did working at Omnia shape your views on the nightlife industry, and also now like with your future career with being a lender?
So I tell you what, I mean, as much as I'm sure that bottle service girls, we have that reputation, you got to be a hustler because like I said, I mean, there's another cute 21-year-old when you're 26, 27 that can take your spot overnight. So if you're not somebody that is showing up to work, you know, hair, nails, tan, looking like you did the day that you got hired, they're going to find a way to out you. And how they did that was, so everyone wants to be a dance floor girl. Like, and I laugh now because I look back at the struggles that I thought, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not on dance floor tonight. And then I would be texting Chris, like, who's your customer that's coming in? Put me on his table. Like, I need to be on dance floor. And I'm like, now I deal with like actual real problems, like whether the kids are sick or someone's loan could be falling apart. Like, and I look back and I'm like, dang, I wish I still had that problem of are you on dance floor second tier? And you knew that you were on trouble if you were ever on terrace. Because if you're an outside girl, nobody wants to be an outside girl. So, and the best part about all of this friendly reminder is majority of these clubs you pool. So if you work outside or you work dance floor, if you work the entire shift, you make the same money. It's only if you get cut. Now, that's where it kind of got a little saucy, if you will, because if you were outside or on different areas and you weren't main room, those rooms do close earlier. So you could be losing out on hundreds and hundreds of dollars every night. So again, that's where the cutthroat came in, where if you weren't a top seller, it affected your money. So
that's bananas.
Mm-hmm.
And how much drama is there?
Oh gosh.
In bottle service, and is the drama just amongst the bottle service girls or the guys, that are working? Or
and we always laugh because it's like the cocktail servers date the hosts, and God forbid you're a server that dates a busser and you're good looking, because that just ruffles everybody's feathers. No, I think there's drama within everybody, whether it's management, hosts, cocktail servers, bussers, shoot. I mean, it's one of those things where each club has their own, issues. But when now you have these outings where you're maybe Omnia and Hoxton and all these places are now going to XS for, Sunday industry night. Now you're getting everyone together. And when it comes down to, I saw so-and-so talking to this person. I mean, countless things are just kind of rumbling, and everybody, talks about everybody on that side, whether it's, oh, did you see who they're dating now? So it's definitely a very high school feel at sometimes. It was fun though.
Did you have a clientele of people that came in, or is it new people all the time?
So I would definitely say, I mean, there was your OGs. So this was 10 years ago. And there was a select few of us that I think I was one of the first to sell a $100,000 bottle of champagne. And at that moment is when I kind of knew, like, if I can be selling people that don't need not only champagne, but at this price point, sales is probably where I need to be. But as far as the clientele, you would have your regulars. And I mean, some of these regulars were spending, $1 million plus a night. It wouldn't happen all the time, but when they came in, they knew who was on those tables. And it did get catty because you have people that were like, no, I want to be on this table. No, that's my client, because the other side to this is gambling after. If your client or the host you're in their circle, they'll take you after and you go gambling and high limit. And it's not really, the spends that you get that night. It's, could you make $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 plus just by gambling? And there's no strings attached. It's kind of just a bunch of people all at the table, and whatever you walk with, you walk. But that was that next level to the industry, is how can you make that kind of money? And then from what you do with that, it's, game over. But a lot of times now what I'm seeing is the girls are taking their clientele and they're figuring out, like, how can I either work for you, or what does that look like? And I think that's super smart, because again, 10 years ago when I was 21, I wasn't thinking about that. It was just, how do you make that fast couple $1,000s? And then the next day comes. So
when you sold it's $100,000 bottle of champagne, Jesus Christ.
I have the empty bottle in my house still.
Do you really?
Yeah.
So what was, like, the table was a bunch of guys that came in from where? Like, what was the situation with that?
This guy had won a lottery a few years back, and he had, came in a few times, and I asked what they were celebrating, and of course it was, we can drop this champagne from the sky and do all these crazy things. And I think we actually maybe discounted the bottle to like $90,000 or something like that. But he felt like he was getting a little discount, and so I dropped that bottle, and the card went through, and the tip was nice as well.
Is it autograt, or do they go ahead and just edit
So actually, we were very creative in the beginning because they did autograt, but we were able to also get 20% on top of the autograt. So we were making like 38 to 40% gratuity on every tab when we first opened. Then they started getting a little more cracked down, and they put you have to do the 3 big stamps. And I was like, but do we really need these big stamps? If my service was great, 50% seems doable.
What's the highest percentage tip you ever got? Was it 50%?
No, so there's again, the customers that are coming in that are spending close to $1 million plus, or even just a couple $100,000. There's times that they'll just leave $100,000 on the gratuity line. I think the highest tip out that we ever did at one point was close to like $300,000 or $400,000. But remember, it's not just going to one person. It's getting split between servers, and then hosts get a percentage and the bussers get a percentage. But still, at the end of the day, someone just left you guys almost $500,000. That's a substantial amount of money, no matter what you're doing.
Oh my God, yes. Well, that's a house.
Yeah.
It's a house. What's the most amount of money in gratuity you ever earned in one night?
That we walked away with, probably about, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe like 15,000. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like bananas.
It's much different now, is what I'm told. over the past 5 years, those nights are very few. Again, in the beginning, a decade ago, things were a lot different, and what they were spending and how often and the things that you could do. So now I think it's definitely a little bit more slim, which great for me because I'm not in there.
You're out. What's the most amount of money you ever saw a table spend?
Over $1 million.
Over $1 million. Mm-hmm. And how do they pay that?
They wire money in.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So you'll wire money to the hotel.
So ACH?
Yeah. And then some of them, these black Amexes, you can rack up some tabs on those. They go through. What's
the highest amount you ever is it just a Centurion card, or have you seen other cards?
So majority of the time when you have big spenders like that, it's going to be one check, and it either just gets taken care of on the back end with the hotel, or it's a credit card, and maybe you might have 1 or 2 guys throwing in, but majority of the time if they're that big of a clientele, it's just them.
What's the most you ever saw on a credit card go through on a bill as a bottle service girl?
$250,000. Yeah.
Were they shit-faced?
Yes and no, but you know what? Depending on who these clients are, $250,000 to them, it might be $100 to or vice versa. So it's to them, it's like, But like to us, it's like, oh my God, like I would never fathom.
It's
I actually probably just wouldn't do it in general, even if I had
exactly
it.
Same. Like it's perception though.
Yeah.
You know, like that's to most people that would be like going out and maybe spending $50 or $100,
Right,
$500.
exactly.
Where these guys and girls are spending, is it? I would assume it's all guys or girls too.
You know what? You have some of your girls. I mean, I shout out to the girls that do it because they'll come in and granted whoever's money it is, but I've seen some ladies spend about $50,000 just to have their girls' nights, and they look amazing. And yeah, they do it too. So
right on.
I gave it. Yes, there's been some attorneys that have came in that are like all female team, and they light it up. So, but majority of the time, yes, it's the guys.
I would think it's mostly guys coming in, and I mean it's again. This will shock you. I've never been to a club before. I've no desire to go to a fun club now. I'm fine. I'm old.
Well, it's like
right now, it's like it would be like creepy. But I don't understand the concept of going to a club if I'm in my, let's say, mid-30s, doing well financially,
Yeah.
and I'm in Vegas with 4 of my buddies, and we go to Omnia. Why is it there? Because and to spend $100,000. Right? Is it to be seen? Is it for social media content? Is it because I'm hoping to take a bottle girl home with me?
Yeah.
Is it like what's the allure?
So I definitely listen. I mean, at the end of the day, I think a lot of these people that do come in. I mean, granted, like I grew up in Michigan, so like when I would come in, even when I would go to Miami with my girlfriends, I mean, you walk in and it's like that energy that you're not used to. So I feel like that's the fascination is just like you walk into the glitz and the glam and, everyone's treating you like a rock star and it feeds that fire. And that's where, again, the bottle service job is like, I want you to feel so good this entire night. You're the man. But that's how those tabs get racked up. Because you're in your zone and you're enjoying, and before you know it, it's the night's over though. So to answer your question, I mean, I think if you were somebody that lives in a place where you don't have that glitz and glam, it can be exciting. And again, whether you go in and have a $1,000 minimum or you're coming in to spend a ton of money, you get that same feeling. But now, again, like for me, I mean, I might go to the club once or twice a year, depending. Yeah. And usually I'm bringing my agents out and because I can. Now, if I wasn't in a situation where I had people in place that I can do these things, I wouldn't. We would do lounge and things like that. But for the people that aren't used to that type of level, I mean, I think it's really cool an experience to be able to say like, hey, like we can do this. Just on a comp table.
Well, it's the thing is, and you brought it up, and I've had other influencers have been in here, and I've said, "What's the allure?" And they've always said, "We're Vegas."
Oh yeah,
it's Vegas, baby. And so because of that, when people come in from out of town, and you could be somebody that is generational wealth or crypto or whatever, and you're from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But in you come with 3 of your buddies for a golf weekend in Vegas.
Vegas ain't ready for us.
Right? Oh, yeah. We're going to, by the way, whoever says that, you're a fucking asshole. Like, you're an idiot. Don't do that. Just don't do that. And please don't do that on social media because we are ready for you. We've been ready for you. We've been doing this for 60 years now, like when the mob started. So please don't do that.
To order your 5 Bud Lights and stand in line. I love it, though. God, go for you.
Ordering like a bucket of Michelob, and you're like, okay.
That's all. All right, that was it. It was really fun.
Okay, so what's the wildest request you ever received from a client when working bottle service?
I would say, and this actually, was this when I was working? So there was a client that would want to duct tape the girls' hands in the cocktail girls that worked, but then also girls that were at the table duct tape their hands to champagne. So you'd walk around instead of like, swear to God, being able to use your hands, you have champagne, and then you're just and that was probably, I think, maybe the funnier, stranger, things of it. But like we would have clients that they would ask us to transform certain rooms to like whatever their theme was. So like we've had bounce houses, we've had just, I mean, silly things, but like to them, again, it's like at what certain level are they bored now for just a normal club? So like how do you elevate it? And so I think that was one of the great things about, again, the OGs then, where we were excited and we were so young that we were like, it was fun to us, like, what's the next thing that we can do? Because in the back of our head, the more fun that they have, the longer they stay, the more money we make. And so every time that they'd come in, it had to be a different experience. So whether you were, having a water balloon fight or you were duct taping champagne to your hands, like whatever it was, I mean, we had a client that shut down Crystal's Mall at a crazy hour and we just went shopping. I mean, that time was just so many wild things that nothing surprised you. So, yeah.
That's bananas.
Yeah,
My head's spinning right now.
That was fun.
How did you manage the pressure of maintaining high sales and client satisfaction?
So I've always been somebody that I'm never going to be satisfied, and it's a blessing and a curse. So even right now, I mean, my team is very fortunate. Our slow month, there are people's crazy busy months, and you have to kind of check yourself often and just say like, you're good, sis. Like everything is fine. So I would tell you that at that point in my life where it was constant pressure of like, it never good enough. And I will say is they don't give you enough praise, and not that I'm somebody that needs that. I'm sure there's girls that do, but it was always, hey, after that night ends, like you're nobody again until tomorrow. So if you can't continue these sales, like you're the talk, of the room, oh, you're the best today, but then what happens tomorrow? Because if tomorrow your sales fall through, well, now no one talks about you. So it was one of those things you wanted to continue to be the star and, their little, pedestal that they put you on. And they kind of mind fucked you. Like, they wanted you to be this most perfect employee as far as the look and going to outings and doing these things. But then at the same time, if you weren't selling, well, now that's another discussion. So what I think the industry did for me in a positive way is it continued to feed the fire of the hustle that I wanted. And again, if I knew that I could be selling people and these crazy bottle prices and experiences, again, when it came to the sales, that's how I knew, like, I'm not just the average, girl, just like, yeah, I'm good. Like, they got their minimum. We got our 20%. Like, I'm going to clock out for the day. Like, no, there's so much more. So the pressure that they put on you and how you handle it, I mean, if you were soft, you're going home crying. And that's girls were, and they couldn't handle the pressure. They're tired. Their feet hurt. But if you took what it was and you saved and you really took the experience, because the people that I met in nightlife, I mean, regardless if it's managers, clients, like there's a very select few people that are ever going to get that. I mean, there was time like Leonardo DiCaprio would be your client one night, Michael Jordan. I mean, the people that you met really that like took your influence away, you're never going to meet those people again. Like, what room are you going to be in front of them? Like, that's how I looked at it. So I think if you took it for what it was and let it internalize you as far as the people you met and the experience and the pressure, it takes you to the next level. And that's what it did for my career. So if they weren't hard on me, I don't think I'd be as successful if I was. Because you got to be mentally strong.
It's pressure on coal for millions of years turns into a diamond, and or it crumbles.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. And it's also consistently showing up to work, looking as amazing as possible.
Yeah, with your nail check your nails. They wouldn't like blue, by the way. It had to be pink or like French.
Did you have a lot of people, again, this is a sales job. Mm-hmm. I mean, peel back all the layers, my friend. It's fucking sales job.
It's sales.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you have any type of a funnel or a process that you would apply to like how to read somebody, how to interact with somebody, eye contact, read their body language, anything like that? Or is it more of just, here I am, pretty privilege, this is our menu, order, assholes?
No, I think every approach is different. And again, same thing with clients now, right? You're reading their body language. I'm watching you as soon as you walk into the club. Like when your host is walking you to your table, like a freaking hawk. I'm reading your body language. I'm seeing who you're with. Are you with a girl? Like, who do we have to schmooze to make sure that everything goes as planned? Because what you don't want is, and listen, I'm a wife now too, the wife be like, oh, we don't need that. Oh, we don't need that. Like you want her to feel like the queen and like this is your table. So she wants to show up. So yeah, we would read body language when I'd open the menu. I would kind of get a feel for like where price point was going to be, but plus you knew what their minimum was. So if you had a $15,000 minimum, we're going to pass that on the first order. We're not here to milk it.
Get it done.
And so that's where, the big shebang of like bottle dropping, bring out a Barbie box with the wife in it so that way you can peel back the wrapping paper and here's your cute little wife with your bottle. It's like little things like that they're silly, but it works. And so again, you read the clientele as they walk in, you get a feel for them, you know what their minimum is. And then depending on that first order, it kind of just sets the night, because after that, it's my favorite thing that we did was another one, because at that point you're vibing and you're like, yeah. And that was my ticket. All right, bring it up. And then you didn't have to bring out and like re-swipe. It was just as long as the card went through, you could keep increasing. So I mean, we did it.
What was the most expensive purchase you saw someone make?
It, like as somebody in the industry that worked there.
When you were there?
Not as bottle wise, like just something.
When I guess because you're talking about people like dropping from the sky and everything else.
Yes.
Like, what was the most expensive, item that somebody could order at Omnia when you were there and you saw it happen?
Yeah, it'd probably be the $100,000 bottles of champagne that they held in the back. I mean, these were 6-liter bottles of Ace Rosé, and they were about 4 feet tall almost. And so you would have these really pretty like ballerinas dressed up with this like diamond cage, and then they would drop from the top of Omnia, come down, they would do a different music like cue for it, everyone would stop, we'd have fire coming and cryo machines, and you were just like boom, boom, boom. And so those coming down, then the cocktail girl we'd climb up on like the side, and we'd grab the bottle from them, and then you hold it and you kind of do a little bounce, right? And then you come down and you make sure they just initial really quick before it gets open that they're good with it, and then you pour it out to everybody, and then it's, do you want another one?
If you have pictures or video of any of this, get it to me, because my team will lay it in as we're talking about any of this stuff at all that we're talking about that you're cool with.
Yeah,
because
I can find some stuff.
Because it's also, my audience loves, like, it adds another dimension of what we're talking about, because we're talking about stuff that most people will never experience in their entire lives. Okay, this is like the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, literally.
No, for sure.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, run the numbers. What do you think that your club was doing on a Saturday night?
Oh, gosh.
Like millions.
Yes
it
and
had
no.
to be in the millions.
Of course, but you have to know too, like, these DJs aren't cheap.
Well, absolutely.
Right,
I'm thinking, but I'm trying to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Because like myself, my audience is more like, okay, we're like, short bus, hockey helmet.
Yeah.
Just gotta figure it out.
He didn't mean it.
We're all a bunch of window lickers. It's okay. It's okay. I love you. It's okay. And yes, but I'm thinking, like, let's start at the top of the funnel of this thing.
Yeah.
From a business standpoint, Darian. Yeah. Gross revenue for Omnia, like on a Saturday night when you were there, had to be like 2-3 million.
Close. Probably on the lower end.
Right?
Yeah, because you got to remember, though, not everybody's spending that money. And when you get those clients in, there's probably 1 or 2 in the whole venue, and everything else, you had as low as $1,500 minimums. And some people, they come in and they're only spending their $1,500 minimum, and that's all they got.
And you know what?
But
and that's
still,
okay.
Yeah.
Again, if you think, reverse engineer it. Like, that's what I do all the time with my stuff. And it's like, the people are coming from somewhere that they'll never experience something like this. Maybe they've saved up, or they had a bonus at work, or whatever, and or got a scratchy and they won on a scratcher, right? And it's like, oh my God, let's go to Vegas.
No, absolutely.
And I've got $3,000. I'm going to spend half of it at Omnia.
And those,
right?
And some of those people that come in are the best, because the look on their face to see something, because they're not, I don't know if the right word is tainted, but like, they are there to just embrace, they want to walk around the entire place. They want to see, they want to do the pictures. Like, the first one's in, last one's out. But it's something special because, like you said, like, they probably did save up, and this is like the highlight of their trip. And so where I'll leave you at with that is, I will say that the girls always did a really good job of making the person that was spending the $100,000 feel like a rock star, but also the person that it might be her birthday. And yes, you have a $1,500 minimum and your table's in the back, but guess what? We're going to have a party. Because you have to know too is, a lot of these clients that come in, they're not always the nicest. and they'll treat you like a piece of meat. I mean, you grab your butt and it's like, no, like that's not what I'm here for. Oh yeah. So then when you do have the clients that are so respectful and they're like, oh my gosh, like, thank you. And they're just really like receptive to like the service that you're giving. Like sometimes those clients, you're like, I'll just hang out with you all night. I could care less what this guy's doing. But so I think that was also like another perk and joy that you got to see. Cause even when my family comes in town and they come to certain things, they're like, oh my gosh. And I love that. Cause again, like I walk in and I'm like, oh, I could care less about the chandelier. Like I've seen it 100 million times, but for people's first and maybe their only time, like it's exciting to see it, how they see it.
We're so blessed. Well, first of all, I want to, again, my ADHD is like flying all over the place, even though my Adderall's already kicked in.
Shoot, I had a cold turkey off of it.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry. Sorry. I love the stories that you're saying, like of the guys who are coming in, and it's like they're coming in from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Nothing wrong with Tuscaloosa, love you, but with their $1,500, and that's all they're going to be able to spend. It's all they can afford. But to them, it's like Disney World, not Disneyland. Fuck Disneyland, Disney World, right? And you're going to the Magic Kingdom in Disney World for the first time, meeting Mickey and doing the whole thing, Like, and as a parent, like you take your kids and like I took my son to Disney World in February of this year for 10 days. I have goosebumps. Just him and I. He's 8.
Yeah, because you're letting them see it through, like you see it through their eyes.
Yes, because I grew up going there. My grandparents were in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm from upstate New York. I grew up going to Disney World. Disneyland's nice, but no.
It doesn't compare to Disney World.
Doesn't even compare. It's like comparing the Aviators to the Yankees. It just doesn't compare.
Yeah.
And so I use that same analogy when you're talking, and that's so cool, though, that you say that yourself or the other girls working, even if there's somebody in the back and there's a $1,500, minimum, that's all they're going to spend, they're enjoying it so much more than the $100,000 entitled people that do it all the time. And that's so it gives me pause to go like, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, no,
that you guys are doing that. I like that.
Yeah, and I have to give recognition to them just because, again, I mean, it's the same thing. You have someone that walks in and they don't look the fanciest. Like sometimes that's the guy with all the millions of dollars. So, and I learned that very quickly. And they actually, in your training, they taught you that. Like, I don't care if this guy's got a table, regardless of what it looks like you treat everyone the same, but instilled, and I took that away from there, in my line of work now. I mean, you could be buying a $50,000 manufactured home and you're going to get the same level as if you're buying the $1 million home. And at the end of the day, it's not because it's just like, oh, that's just how I am. It's not fake. It's, well, guess what? That person that's buying the manufactured home might have an uncle that needs to buy a $200,000 home. And it's just the trickle down effect. And if I treat you with kindness and do all the things I would for anybody else, like it's going to come back full circle. So I will say they implemented that at a very early age when we started, and that's followed me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's butterfly effect. And
absolutely.
It is so smart to do, and that's something that I did back when I was a title rep. It's stuff that I advise my clients to this day is treat everybody like they're the most amazing person on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
When you're with them, there's nothing else going on. You're not checking your phone. You're not doing anything else. You're with them. You're helping them out. And you're not thinking about how much commission you're going to make, how much money you're going to make. It's helping them with your knowledge and your passion.
Totally.
Right?
It's the relationship. Yeah.
That's awesome. Who are some celebrities that you waited on or worked with there, like had a bottle service that you loved, that were just phenomenal people?
I will say they didn't really talk too much to you. I will say one of the coolest person that I waited on was Ronaldo, the soccer player. And he was very, very nice, but it kind of took away from the person because security is so tight. Like we weren't allowed to hand him the drink. Like we would have to lay it down and then the bodyguard would give it to him. So, but what I can say is him walking in and just that atmosphere and not being snooty patooty, he was just really nice. And so I think that was cool just because he is more of worldwide, that name
he's
is.
Global. Yeah, he's global.
I would say that there was, I'm the worst with names, which is funny. Who's the guy on Hangover with the longer hair? He's the teacher. Really, not Alan.
There's Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. He is very nice. So there was there's ones that were super nice. I mean, I think that there was more of the athletes, unfortunately.
Hold on a second. I love the fact that you bring up The Hangover, you knew his occupation, and you didn't know who the actor was. The fuck, Darian?
I'm really
That's
bad with names.
Hysterical.
I'm really bad with names, like especially music. Like I love music, but I know the song.
That was the funniest, like roundabout reference ever, and somehow I got it.
He
But
was
I'm
the teacher in the
like
movie.
Zach Galifianakis. That's hysterical. Ed Helms. Okay, keep going. Sorry. That was great. That was
But
great.
so
I love that. Very good.
Very, very kind and respectful. I will say that the athletes, unfortunately, I wish they were a little bit more kind in the same manner. But I think, again, they come in there and their shit doesn't sting. No offense. Sorry. But y'all could do better when you go to the clubs.
Was it basketball players?
Yeah, football players are always very nice. I will say, listen, the Golden Knights have always been, and they're kind of regulars, but like those guys come in and they're just so sweet. But they're family guys. Even right before I got out, I mean, this is before I was married and before COVID happened, and they were coming in often, and they always took care of the girls, the host, and they were just nice to be around. They didn't really ask for too much, so I will say, shout out to them because they're always very kind.
It's cool, and I saw it. I spent some time in New York City.
Okay.
And so I'd go to Madison Square Garden and see Rangers games.
Okay.
And there's a private club they have there at Madison Square Garden that you'd go to, and the guys would come in there. A lot of them were like Russians. And it was hysterical.
funny.
And this is like 15, 20 years ago. They'd have like wads of cash.
Okay.
Because they're young, making millions. And they come from nothing over in Russia. Like there's lines for fucking bread. Like Levi's are like $500. And they'd be at the bar, and you could tell who they were. Like they're fucking jacked, but a giant wad of hundreds.
Okay.
And they're just peeling it off just to get it to buy a drink, and just happy to be there.
Okay.
Like humble.
Yeah.
Very humble, not egotistical, where again, this is not my personal thing. This is from people I've talked to here. Basketball players, more entitled. Also a lot of them came from nothing, but for some reason, somehow, some way, there's this aura of superiority that they have.
I think it's the height. They think because they're looking down on you.
That's a great point, man.
But
That's a great point.
But my little ass, I stood up on the sofa so I could be kind of their height, and I just be like, "No, sir, you do have the tip. It's right here." Actually, J-Lo was awesome. I danced with J-Lo. She gave me a little shimmy, and I gave it to her back. She was cool when she had her residency. I don't know if she still does, but she was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
She's into a
fun.
divorce. She's dumped. She's dumped
She can
Ben.
come back. I'll dance with her. I'll go to the club if she wants to go.
J-Lo, when you see, we all know that J-Lo loves Fargo Talks, and so, honey, when you do see this, please hit Darian up because she wants
Jeff
to go
will
back.
also be there. It's his first time going to the club.
If J-Lo gets a hold of you, I'll go. I'll eat a gummy and probably microdose at the same time and show up for that.
Your dance moves will be way better.
I'm down. I'm 100% down.
As soon as she DMs me and
Yeah,
slides
as soon as
into
she
mine,
slides your DMs, let me know.
I will let you know right away.
I'm in. Oh my God. Who were some people, if you're cool talking about it, that you, when they came in, you're like, oh, or you had one experience with them and it just wasn't good?
Honestly, I don't have one. I really don't.
Really?
And I would tell you. I would.
Good for you. No, I'm glad.
I mean, it was. Yeah, I'm sure. I know that there was clients that people talked about, but fortunately for me, I don't have one. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
I have people that have come in.
I wish I could tell you, but there's
right?
not.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
listen.
Hey, that's okay. So J-Lo is great. Ronaldo's a huge one. I mean, he's global. Who else?
Oh man,
Bradley Cooper, you said was great.
Yeah, he was very kind. This is tough because there's a ton, but it's like coming.
That's all right. We'll go on. If people come to you, just blurt it out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. What advice would you give to someone looking to break into the Vegas nightlife scene?
That's a good question. So what I would tell you is you got to be in the best shape of your life. Like if you don't look at yourself in the mirror and be like, damn, like you're not ready. And the reason I say that is just because when you walk into these auditions, there's a line out the door. I mean, I remember when again, long time ago, but when I auditioned for Omnia, they had to get security because the line just went through the entire hotel and outside. And you just had girls like ready for auditions in their bikinis just hanging out at MGM. So you need to be in the best shape of your life. I mean, I would say hire a trainer or download some, videos, pay for whatever subscription, have something, but you're working out every single day, if not twice a day. The diet's huge, but you get your hair done the right way. You have the blowout. Makeup has to be professionally done. The pictures that you'll pay a ton for really don't matter. Just have someone take a couple headshots. But I would say professional makeup, make sure your hair is blown out, spray tan, a good one, not the one you do in your bathroom. All those, like, you have to look like you're going to get married. Like, everything has to be perfect. They liked the genuine. I mean, you could go in there and have everything memorized, but they want to see you as the person. And I think that's where a lot of people get kind of lost, and it's just looks. But no, they're going to ask you questions. Even if you, like, again, if you have never been in the industry, if you're in front of them right now, the panel, there's usually 3 of them, they're going to ask you, hey, what's your best upselling technique? Well, number one, you need to know what upselling is, right? But even if you were a bartender, I mean, it's easy as, do you want a double shot? Hey, you said, well, you went, Grey Goose, like little things like that. But then at the same time, they're going to ask you, have you ever been in a situation with a customer that wasn't happy, and how did you resolve it? And as easy as a question as that is, when you're on the spot and that light's right in your eyes, it's like, and I mean, they asked me this question, and I told them, when I was a Hooters girl, somebody complained that their wings were cold, and I made sure to bring them out a fresh batch and a cake, and like just silly things like that. But it's like you got to kind of be fast with it, witty. Like, even if it's such nonsense, like they just want to hear like what your actual thought is on the spot.
How long have you been here now?
10 years.
Okay, I've been here almost 13,
okay,
and have, again, was in real estate like you for 10 years. And the biggest thing I would see with attractive women who were in real estate here, and a lot of it happened during COVID, like people that were in industry, and would come in all of a sudden going, and they would find out about me or whatever and say, let's get together for coffee. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I
hate coffee.
I fucking can't stand it. Can't fucking stand it.
Ask me to Korean barbecue.
And we'll talk about that. And I would do some research and look, all right, fine, let's get together. We'd get together and they'd open their mouths. I'm like, oh no.
Oh no.
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 Like, how are you going to convince somebody to earn the right to represent them on the biggest, most stressful financial transaction of their lives in buying and selling a home with the way you sound? I was just like, whoever told you that real estate's for you, honey bunny, no. Like, Costco's hiring, Amazon,
you dick.
There's plenty of places here in Vegas you can go work, but really, like, real estate's, you're just not going to make it because you're used to being given the things. And I'm going somewhere with this.
No, I know.
It's, pretty privilege, which I never knew about, by the way, until I met my girlfriend. And she's a fucking smoke show. And I was like, what's pretty privilege? And she's like, I've never gotten a speeding ticket, like all this other shit. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I've gotten all the ones that you haven't gotten, but that's fine.
That's fine.
And so it's people that are expected because of their looks, they're given stuff all the time, where when you're a bottle service girl, it's the opposite. Because you're not given anything. You have to be overtly selling the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a biggie.
Yeah.
Is that you're on. You have to be on, which has got to be exhausting, by the way.
Until 4, 5, 6 in the morning. And you have to do it with a smile.
No. That's all right. So what's the biggest misconception people have about being a top-selling bottle service girl at a club here in Vegas?
Yeah, I would probably say a lot of people are going to say, bottle service girls are sluts or whores, or they sleep around. And I'm sure there's some that do that, but for the most part, I mean, that's not it at all. I think even when I moved here, I'll tell you, my mom, we laugh to it now, but I told her I was moving to Vegas and I'm going to work in a club. And she's like, oh, you're going to be a stripper. And I was like, no, Mom. So there's a difference between dancers and cocktail servers. And yeah, there's cocktail servers at the strip club. I said, but neither are those what I'm doing. Not that there's anything wrong, and they make great money. But I said, no, I'm not. And I'll show you. So once I get settled, like, I'll bring you out. And I did, brought her out, and I was like, okay, so this is the club I work at. And I had the best time, and she danced, and she got
that's
up
great.
there and lived her best life. So, but
I love that. That's cool.
And again, like, even my parents, I mean, that's the biggest misconception, is just like, how are you're sleeping with someone to get to this point? And it's not that serious. It's, hey, you're going in there. Yes, you have to have your A game on. And you're just pushing. You're pushing. And if they tell you no, you pivot and then you push this way. And at the end of the day, you close out your check and you do it all again. But I will say that there's a lot that goes into it, because at the end of the day, some of these jobs are union where you could stay there forever as long as you got a beating heart. And the pool jobs, you audition every year. So kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, there's some clubs out here that the girls are just doing bare minimum. And as long as they show up, they're good. And that's where they'll slowly start to weed you out. But I think as long as when you go up there, it's just like you're about your money. And I think that's the biggest misconception that people have, is the things behind the scenes. They're really not that at all.
It's not that glamorous.
It's not. Maybe it was 20 years ago, but it's not all that right now.
What was the most amount of money you ever brought in one shift as a bottle service girl?
Oh gosh. After, like, I would say the most money I ever brought in after working a shift with, gambling with clients would probably be over $100,000. Yeah.
It's awesome.
It was great. And I bought my house. I bought a house with it. So that's something that I would love to work on and instill in some of these girls, is when you're coming in 21, 22, you're going to see fast money. And whether it's the one-offs where you get invited to, go gamble or, do whatever, turn around, instead of going and buying all the things to make yourself look cooler, buy the house, because that's solid. There's your ground. And then from there, like, you just keep leveling up, whether it's, in investments and things like that. But that's the one thing that I'm glad I had somebody tell me, like, hey, you could buy a lot of cool things, a lot of Chanel, a lot of fit, vacations, but you need to buy a house. And I still have that house to this day. It was the best thing I ever did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to, and that'll be a great clip, by the way. And what we'll do is I'll add you as a collaborator and tag you on everything, because I post everywhere. So, because I want people to be able to, when they're hearing your advice, also like contact you.
Yeah.
Because, and again, I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, but even if you're not ready to buy a house yet, Darian will help answer your questions on where you need to be at.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, I have clients that aren't ready for, a year, 2, and I'm not tech savvy, and I laugh because I have a very particular way that I do follow-ups, but I find that 10 out of 10, my stuff's better than the CRMs and all the extra little technologies people have. And I'm like, listen, my old school little potential folder with the emails that I sent out works way better. And I remember the people from 2 years ago because I scroll down that list every other day. And yeah, I think even timeline wise, or hey, I'm waiting for the rates to jump and all that stuff, it's all BS. Like, get someone that knows how to strategize and can kind of just help guide you. And there's no pressure on it. You do with what you want with it, and when you're ready, we can make something happen. Do
you do an email newsletter?
I don't.
Okay.
There's 100 different things that I could do, but I keep it to the basics. I have my agents. We have our leads we pay for. Some of them do YouTube and marketing and things like that. But for me right now, I mean, I'm kind of like on the other side where you don't really see too much of me, but the deals are closing. So I do things a very particular way. And I don't think it's the popular way, but it works for me. The popular way is what works for you. Okay. Yeah. Give yourself some grace, my friend. Seriously, give yourself some grace, because again, I'm one of the techiest guys around, but I have great respect for people that are like, I just use a piece of ledger paper and I just write my stuff down. And as I call people or whatever, and I stay in front of them and I see if on Facebook they just had a baby or got a dog, whatever, I give them a call and say hi. And I'm like, that's the best. Yeah. If as long as you have the scale to do that and the bandwidth, awesome. Like, geez Louise, man, that's the best. Yeah. That is the best. It's organic too.
It's extremely organic.
Yeah.
But there's stuff afterwards that we'll talk about that, you could be taking these videos, when they get clipped up, and when I post them, you could be sharing them.
Oh yeah, that's
database stuff. Because this is great stuff for giving people people that don't know you as they know you as a loan officer, and that's it. Right. Mm-hmm. It's a great way to give somebody a more 360-degree view of you. Yeah, it kind of like, hey, this is who I'm working with. You put the name to the face, and now there's a little bit more insight as the person, right? Because
all you see is,
That's it.
Hey, she's got 2 kids, married, and she does loans.
Yeah,
That's
the
it.
end. Well,
Yeah.
no, wait a minute. This is because you have a story.
Yeah.
What happened at Omnia to get you to leave, to move on?
So I actually, when I hung up the heels, that's what we call it. I was at XS at the time. So I was at Omnia for a few years, moved over to XS, and there was a Saturday night that I went to my husband now and was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go into work tonight. Like my feet kind of hurt. Like I'm just in a mood. I think I'm going to quit soon. And he was like, kind of laughed. He's like, okay, like take your time, take your day. And I pulled out my laptop and I was just kind of searching like, what do I want to do? Like I know I can't go backwards. Like you're not going to go into something and make less money. And I already knew, hey, sales worked for me. And so I remember when I did buy my house, a few years back, I was like, gosh, like, what was that called? Like when you get a mortgage. So I'm literally Googling these like silly, like, what is it when they, and so it came up as mortgage. I was like, oh, okay, like who does the mortgage? So I'm literally trying to find this specific word, loan officer. And then I was like, okay, I was like, so there's real estate agents, there's loan officers, there's title. And I started to look at title and everyone that I kind of noticed, no offense, was a little bit older and not really my vibe. And so I was like, okay, I don't think that's for me. And then the real estate agents joke of when you leave our industry, the nightlife industry, is they become real estate agents. And no knock on that because some of the best ones came. But it's just such an easy thing that I think people get into and whether it works out or it doesn't. But I was like, okay, well, I have a lot of friends that are real estate agents. We've already decided title is not a good fit for me based on what I'm seeing. And I was like, so maybe this loan thing could work out. And that's where I didn't tell anybody that I was doing it. I'm a firm believer because God forbid I hated it and then just stopped. Like I'm someone, if you're gonna be about it, do it and talk about it. But for me, I'm like, I don't know 100% yet. So I'll just keep it to myself. So I signed up right there. And I was studying and Chris was always just like, wow, he's like, you're really putting in the hours to this. I was like, no, I'm going to do it. So I got to take my test. I figured out all the steps and passed my test. And now I was like, okay, like now what? It's where do you go to work? So I did all that. And ironic enough, at this time, COVID was just around the corner and obviously no one knew. So the timing was just out of control of like, God willing, like, hey, like if it wasn't for me staying home that Saturday and just saying, like, I'm not feeling it, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. So fast forward, I started the day after Super Bowl. I showed up at 7 a.m. to that office and my mentor at that time, I was with him for a year and he taught me everything I really needed to know, but not just about the industry, about the hospitality side of it, because he also came from hospitality. And I think that's where he drove in me and he's cool. Like, you come in when I open the doors, but you don't leave until I leave. So some days I was there till 10, 11 o'clock at night. But I tell you what, I mean, I truly think that's what surpassed me. I surpassed, a lot of people in my industry that either started around when I did or have been doing it for 20 years. And especially being a female, it was like I had something to prove. But now it's like I laughed. There was this song I listened to the other day and it was like, oh, they're still sleeping on me. And I kind of loved it because it's like I think I go into some of these rooms with these men that, again, have been doing 20 plus years, might be a VP of a company, and my numbers are just as good. And I say that no one's going to outwork me. And I know that because I will put the hours in regardless if I have 2 kids, a husband, 1,000 things going on. Like I have to make it because if I don't, there's then what? So I've made it a point to make sure that this was the best choice. And so COVID happened and the world shut down. I was still making money. My husband did, they put him on pause, right? So the universe worked out. And then when everything opened back up, they would let you kind of pass your spot and you could give it to lower seniority. So I told him, just pass me until you can't pass me anymore. And then June came along and they're like, do you want to come back? And so my mentor at the time was like, you're a effing idiot. If you go back there, that's a slap in the face. Your checks, are way better than what you're going to do there. And I was like, I understand that. And I know that. However, if I don't do this for myself to go in and me make the decision, I'll have a regret. Because once you leave, again, at that point, I'm seasoning out. Granted, I could be there probably for another 10 years, but mentally. So I went in, I sat down, started polishing our champagne flutes, and I just kept hearing the same kind of noise of the what they're complaining about, the section, or, oh, we're slow tonight, we don't have enough reservations. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I just worked my ass off for 12 hours and now this is what I'm doing. So I put the stuff down and I walked up to our manager and I said, hey, I'm going to go and I'm not coming back. And he was like, I'm surprised you came in. He's like, but at least I was like, I had to know that I'm good. Like I'm done. So I dropped off my uniforms. And after that, they were very kind and they said, you always have a spot here. But I knew like I hung up the heels and I never looked back because I feel like, especially in any job that you do, if you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're never going to be the best of the best. So like you have to have it in yourself and say like, I got this. Like I don't need a second job.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude, it's good. Last question.
Yeah.
Is, and this is even on here, what is it about being in nightlife that really poured the foundation for your success now in the mortgage industry in Las Vegas?
The hustle. I've seen quick money and I've seen money go away. I've seen people that have, been in the industry and were out the next day. So the money didn't excite me at that point. It was what can I do that's a career where it's not fluctuating so much? And if it is, it's fluctuating within certain margins that it's never a too low amount. And that's where for me, when again, if I can sell these $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 bottles that people don't need, how can I sell something that people really do need? And that's where it's like everyone needs a house and people are going to need to refi. And I think that the hustle and mentality of there, and you have something to prove, right? Because anyone that exits that's making great money, still young, people want to know like, oh, where'd you go? Are you successful? Are you this? And the best part of all of this was like, let's be honest, nobody wants to use someone that's new in a new industry. Like if you're a new real estate agent and this is your first deal, no one wants to be your guinea pig. Same thing with mortgages. So I practiced on all of our refis and I overshadowed 100 different loans and until it was like my time to be like, okay, I can do this by myself. So I think proving that like, hey, I left, but I'm beyond more successful than I ever was there. And like that, Darian, the cocktail server, that's not my label, right? It's Darian. I want to be the businesswoman. Like I don't even need mortgage or loan attached to it. It's just I'm an investor. I'm a businesswoman. Like there's a lot more layers to it, but it's kind of just what I show you. But there's so much more behind the scenes. What's your favorite part about being a loan officer? What gets you out of bed every morning to be a loan officer? My kids, the check. At the end of the day, I mean, listen, in any job, any sales job, I mean, and I think that because sales is the hardest, you have to sell yourself. It's like, I love the scene in Wolf of Wall Street where he's like, sell me this pen. And at the end, he's like, sell me this pen. Well, do you have a pen? And it's like that to me, which as silly as it is, I was like, damn, like, yes. So I'm your pen. I mean, for me, I'm just like, I get out of bed every morning because like, again, you could have 5 loans 1 month, or you could have 20. And it's the hustle. And here's the thing: if you don't answer your phone, someone else will. So even if I have, Grayson screaming over here, like if I see someone's calling and I know that I can do both at the same time, like I put him on my hip, answer the phone, like I am Superwoman, like I'll get that done. And I do. So the hustle doesn't stop. You can get your book of business and you can do all the things, you do all the amazing things. But you're only as good as your last transaction. And as much as that sucks, it's so true because you could do all these amazing things. And maybe that's a bad client that, everything's just kind of falling apart. But guess what? It's on you to fix it. And if you don't, that's your fault and they'll probably call somebody else. So what gets me out of bed every morning is knowing the money that I can make for my family, but also like the possibilities are endless on that. So yeah. Thank you, my friend. Yes. This has been fun. Yeah. We've gone over an hour. Wow. Yeah. Shoot. Just like that, man. Just like that. Just like that. Thank you for coming in. This has been fun. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your candor. I've always been a fan of you. Oh. And this has been cool. Yeah. It's been a long time. It's been a minute. Yeah. It's been 4 years. It's been a minute. So this has exceeded my expectations. I appreciate it. Oh, good. I'm glad. Thank you, my friend. Until next time. Until next time.